to Wolfton's Voice ASMR. Today's a bit of a different one, so I've actually placed the microphone here in the middle of a load of little miniatures, and I am doing a little bit of modelling because Games Workshop has re-released the game that I used to play, which was Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and they discontinued it a while ago. When I say a while ago, I mean, probably 2015, 2016, something like that. And ever since they discontinued the game, I've been longing for it to return because it was one of my favourite hobbies and games. And they introduced something called Age of Sigmar instead, which was similar, fantasy. But I never managed to get into it. And now they've reintroduced, they've called it the Old World. So I'm really looking forward to playing it again, which will be great. But one thing they have decided on, which is a good change, is that base sizes will be bigger. So you put your miniatures on these bases. So for example, let's get one with an intact base for now. You have your little miniature. This is a very badly painted skeleton with like a trumpet type thing, and he sits on this little square base. Now they used to be 20mm by 20mm bases, which is this size. Now they're changing it so that they will sit on 25 by 25, which is significantly bigger. It does make a difference. The main thing behind that is the fact that one of the big gripes a lot of people had was lining people up into rank and file was actually really difficult, because all the sticky out bits, it'd be really hard to find the right way to rank them up without them knocking each other over. So, oh dear, I've just broken this guy's sword. Never mind. Anyway, so they're putting them on bigger bases, but that means I am now going through the motions. I've bought 125 by 25 bases, and so 100 of these. And first thing I'm doing with them is upturning them like this, and then I've got these little bags of ball bearings, tiny little ball bearings, and putting these ball bearings into the bases with some glue. So it looks a little bit, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it looks a little bit like that afterwards. So you've got the ball bearings all glued into the base. It weights the base down, it makes the base a lot heavier, which again is really useful for keeping your models nicely lined up. And if you get models with larger bits, for example, I've got this standard bearer model here. It's very easy to unbalance them because he's quite top heavy. So if you put some weights in the base, it will stop them hopefully falling over like that. So I've done a few already. I've just done 5 so far. I've got a lot more to do. Still a little bit tacky, but what I'm doing then is clipping off the raised edges from the 25 by 25 mil bases so that they are totally flat. And I am then going to give them a quick file underneath. I'm not sure I've got my file actually, I need to go and find the file. And then I'm going to be gluing those onto these bases so that they will then be sitting on their 25 by 25 bases. And then I'm going to base coat them all, so spray them all, and start again with the paint job, because I painted these, I wanted them to be an ethereal army, a bit like the Army of the Dead in Lord of the Rings. So I wanted them to look like that, and I think to some extent it kind of worked, and to another extent it really didn't. It looked a bit crap when they were all on table in rank and file. It wasn't really how I wanted them to look, so this is my chance to repaint. So I'm going to be painting them as kind of classic skeletons, I suppose. So they will be, for the most part, bone coloured. I have a Zandri Dust paint, it's called, that's going to be my base coat. Then I'm going to use a wash paint. I'm not sure which one yet, but like a kind of browny dun coloured wash paint, which will sit in all the recesses and make the bits of bone stand out. And then all the different bits of details, so the helmets, the weapons, any kind of scraps of clothing, or armour, for example, I will be painting in their respective colours. So, a gunmetal type colour for the armour, or swords and shields. Now, being an undead army, I want them to look a little bit grimy and a little bit grotty, so it will be dark colours. They're not going to be like shining silver. The models will be kind of used and old and worn. I'll put a bit of rust colouring on there, and any cloth that they've got, like this little banner here, the cloth will be filthy and kind of weathered. So hopefully it'll end up looking quite good. And then the bases, originally I did these as like sitting on a swamp or walking through a swampland. So it's quite a dull coloured base, but I want something slightly more exciting this time, so I've actually purchased some mud paint, so terrain paint that's designed to look like mud, and then I've also purchased some snow effect terrain paint, and I want it to look like they're going through a kind of a frozen landscape. And let me just see if I can glue this chap's sword back in place, because it's just wobbling off a little bit. Get a little bit of plastic glue in there. Oh, that was a bit too much plastic glue, but never mind. I just bent it back into place. I just hold that steady for a minute or two until it glues. I want them to look like they're walking through a kind of a frozen landscape, because I think the dark coloured mud and then the snow will hopefully contrast quite nicely with the colours of the army that I'm going for. So they're going to be kind of a crimson dark shade of red will be their heraldry, so banners, scraps of clothing, the lords that lead the army, the vampires, that kind of stuff. They'll be in those kind of dark, warm colours. And the skeletons themselves, obviously the bone colour is quite a warm colour, so I'm hoping the frozen kind of snowy floor will contrast quite nicely with that, and help the models to really kind of pop, stand out. That's the general idea anyway. Whether that will work or not remains to be seen. But yes, I've got a few, and then I've got some models that I've had for years. I've got this is Conrad von Karstein. It's one of the vampire models, and I've never even taken it out of the plastic. It's still in the blister pack. I think I bought this in Australia when I lived there back in maybe 2013, 2014. I've had it for a long time. So, yeah. And really, since I got back here, I've not really done anything with my models. Sadly, during lockdown, because I was on a 0 hours contract in a retail environment before lockdown, and so when lockdown hit, we were just laid off. No income, no nothing, no furlough, just gone. And so I was renting in quite an expensive part of the country in Altrincham, and it made life quite difficult because all of a sudden, in fact I was in Alderley Edge when it kicked off, and then I moved to Altrincham at a later date, that was during the second lockdown. But it made everything quite difficult because I didn't have any income, and obviously I had a lot of expenditure. I live on my own, so I was a lonely old soul. And I still, obviously, all my bills I have to pay myself. The rent, the water bills, everything, all my food and all that lot, and I didn't have an income to do so. So it was quite a trying time. So I ended up selling, because these are quite expensive, these models. I ended up selling quite a few of my armies. I had a massive dwarf army. I made hundreds upon hundreds of pounds selling it. But now they brought back the old world. I'm absolutely devastated that I sold the army, because I would love to be playing with it again, painting it up and collecting and doing the modelling. These things come just on a sprue, so like on a plain grey sprue, a bit like that. It's just, and then you cut them out, glue them onto their bases, and then undercoat them, and then start painting them up, which is really therapeutic, to be honest. When I was younger, gaming was my big kind of thing with this, and I fancied myself as quite the tactician, so I really enjoyed kind of list building, making army lists that were powerful, and playing games against people. Whereas now, most of my pleasure from this is derived from the hobby aspect rather than the gaming aspect. So I'm just going to put some glue in these bases. And then after I've put glue in these bases, I'm going to fill them with ball bearings to make them nice, heavy bases. I'd say it's a nice delicate process, but I just got glue on my table, so I probably should have put something down. Oh well, never mind. It's only a table. But yeah, so I had a massive dwarf army. I had some really, really old models from the 90s as well, that I absolutely loved. I thought they were superb. Oh, you know what, I'm going to sit these going to sit these inside a lid here, so that if I spill ball bearings, they don't just run away and go all over the floor, which is probably quite likely otherwise. Yes, I'm still lamenting that I had an Empire army, which just, the humans in the setting. I sold all of them, the cannons, the knights, the archers, the footmen, everything. I sold a lot. Had a few of the heroes as well. Balthazar Gelt and I didn't have girlfriends or anything. I also had some elves, some high elves, which I sold. Some elven archers, some elven, again some knights, mounted upon steeds. Elthar the Grim I had as well on his mount, another one of the named characters. I sold all of those. I sold a Skaven army from one of the old starter box sets. That included a warp fire thrower and a Skaven like rat men type things. They're a bit scary, but it was a good army to collect. So yeah, I sold those during lockdown. And a massive orcs and goblins army, which my ex-wife used to collect, and she painted them up beautifully. In fairness, they looked really, really good. That was quite a large army with some monstrous units as well. I had some squigs, massive big squig thing, kind of colossal squig I think it's called. A lot of those were painted really well. And yeah, I sold all those as well because I needed the money to buy food to subsist, I needed to pay for my electricity bills and all that. And now obviously they've brought this game back and I'm kind of devastated because I would love to have all those old armies back to rebase and model and paint and play with and campaign with and whatnot, but sadly I can't. They are gone. Hopefully it was, to be honest, a lot of it went to the same guy. Obviously a very avid collector. I think his kids collected as well. So hopefully they're at least going to be able to get a lot of enjoyment from them and get into the old world game and do a bit of gaming and playing and modelling and whatnot. At the minute I'm just trying to poke these ball bearings into the remaining little holes because I can't have, if I've got 2 layers of them, the base will end up being wobbly because they'll stick out higher than they should. I think I've put too many in this one. Let's see if I can scoop a couple out into a different base. Scoop you out into that base, there we go. Just poke you in. I think I'm getting there. Oh no, that one's sticking out as well. There. Yeah, I filled this base just a little bit too full. I think too many. There we go, that'll do. They all look like they're under the glue line now. Oh dear. Poke these ones in. Flatten it all out. And then I'll leave these overnight to dry. I wanted to do this bit first so I can obviously carefully lie them flat before I stick the new miniatures on top of them, and then once they're stuck on the bases, that's when I will make sure the base is kind of levelled out. I'll use a little bit of a flock, I think, or something for that, maybe some sand, just to give it a bit of texture and to level the base out. With the kind of the old base, they'll be stuck on top, so that you can't see the ridge or anything, because that would look a bit rubbish. And then I'm going to wait again until that's dried on, and then I'm going to give them a good spray paint with the sandry dust. Make sure they're all the right colour, based and ready to go. And then after that I can actually start painting the models properly. So I might do some of that on here, I think. Usually quite fine detail. They always look a little bit rubbish for a while, and then all of a sudden they kind of come together at the end and start looking really good. So these are really poor examples, to be perfectly honest. I've got some. I'll have to go and get out some nice models at some point. I can actually paint fairly well. Definitely not a pro. Some people, oh my goodness, some people's paintings are just incredible. I've put too many ball bearings in here. I'm going to have to put some in a different one. Let's scrape a layer of these off here. Yeah, some paintings I've seen, wow. They absolutely blow your mind, really. Incredible detail. Just looks superb. Some people go for a really lifelike look. And some people go for quite a kind of fantastical look, which I quite like personally. Now I've scraped too many out now. Oh, this is frustrating. This is more difficult than I was expecting it to be. Oh dear, I'm making a right mess of myself. I've got glue all in my fingers now. See if I can open this bag. I don't know if you heard that, but that was some ball bearings going AWOL. That'll do. One more just to fill that little gap there. Perfect. Et voila. May as well do this one now, because I had to get it out and get it started. Where have I put my little... I'm using just a little bent staple as a tool here. It's probably not the most professional way of doing things, but you know, it is what it is. There we go, let's get that on there. Perfect. Well, I've ended up doing one base more than I initially set out to do. Put a little bit more glue in it. But I do have a lot of these miniatures, so the reason I bought 100 bases is because I've probably got more than 100, to be honest. That'll need to be rebased, so this is going to be quite a project for a little while, I think. out. Anyway, I think this is my first video since the new year, so I'd like to wish you all a happy new year. May 2024 be better than 2023 was. I mean, for some of you 2023 might have been good. For me it was, well, it started full of promise. And it turned out to be a bit of a letdown in the end, to be honest. As always, everything kind of went a bit wrong. But never mind, hopefully 2024 will be an improvement. Although I'm long enough in the tooth now to realise that that's very rarely the case. Okay, so we have got 6 bases now filled with the little ball bearing weights. I'll put those to one side, I think. Let them dry. See, actually I need them to be on a flat surface, so pop them there. And I've got these miniatures dropped off their bases and ready to stick on. These ones ready to go. Still a little bit tacky to the touch, I think, so I'll probably wait until tomorrow and let all these dry properly overnight before I start kind of gluing them on proper. So that will probably do for now, I think. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I know I've been rambling on, but I hope you find this, or found this, to be at least quite relaxing. And I will endeavour to do another video soon. But until that point, take care, good night, and sleep tight.